determine who they want to fight next. And there are a lot of possibilities, one of which is this English kid who's the mandatory from the BO named Yard, who'll be here Saturday night. So we'll see.
He was a guy, I guess he was ahead on the cards with Kovalev before he got stopped, and he's worked himself back up to the #1 spot. To have this fight in Madison Square Garden, a place where you've packed the house many times with shows, just have yet another one, what's that mean to you?
Well, you know, this is, there's a feeling I always have when I come here to promote a fight that is indescribable for me. The first fight that Top Rank did, we had a company before Top Rank, but the first fight that Top Rank promoted was December 7th, 1970, the great Muhammad Ali against Oscar Bonavena. And we packed that arena. And, but you know, I also go back to the old Garden, where as a kid, I went to so many events. You know, I'm a New Yorker. You know, I still root for the Yankees and the Giants.
Still got the season tickets with the Giants?
What? Yeah, 8 season tickets. Yeah, hopefully
I get the Cowboy tickets.
They'll turn it around.
Thanks, Bob. I appreciate it. Look forward to an awesome fight on Saturday night.
Thank you.
Bob, the rematch between Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk has been Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk rematch set for August 20, Saudi Arabia. What are your thoughts on that fight?
Tyson Fury and
I'm sorry. Anthony Joshua, Alexander Usyk. Mistaken. Rematch set for August 20.
Usyk.
Yes.
I have nothing to do with that fight. Eddie Hearn is the promoter. He had Usyk sign a contract that if he won, which he did, he had to give a rematch to Joshua. And Eddie Hearn is handling that fight. And, you know, I'm not going to interfere, of course, and let it play out.
No, and Tyson Fury did say recently that he'll fight the winner, but he wants at least $500 million. Is that a realistic
Tyson
number?
Fury says a lot of things.
You know, Anthony Joshua just paired up with Robert Garcia. How do you believe that's a good pairing?
Well, that remains to be seen. But Garcia is a tremendous trainer. He trains a lot of fighters who fight for us, you know, looking at that fight, I would say that even if Joshua resurrected Ray Arcel to be his trainer, it wouldn't help him.
In a fight like this one,
Against Usyk in particular.
Against Usyk.
Yeah, no problem. In a fight like this one this Saturday night, both guys are obviously really big punchers, but is there ever the fear that since both guys hit extremely hard, that they could kind of be a little tenuous in their attack?
Yeah, maybe for a round or two.
You don't see any way this fight goes the distance.
No way it goes to this.
Bob, Tyson Fury against Francis Ngannou, is that a possibility?
Against who?
Francis Ngannou,
The
UFC super
MMA
heavyweight?
guy?
Yes.
Yeah, well, I think he's still, the MMA guy is still recovering from an injury, but I would love to do that fight. And depending on Ngannou's contract with the UFC, we'd either do it with or without the UFC. But that would be a huge event.
He's actually fought out his last fight. So the opportunity is there if you're interested.
Well, sure, I'm interested. I mean, who wouldn't be? Ngannou was the heavyweight champion of the UFC, and Tyson Fury. I think it would be a huge event.
Tyson just asked for $500 million to come out of retirement.
Well, he didn't say dollars. Maybe he was talking pesos.
So let's just say Tyson Fury does get that one fight back. Do you think it's going to be a multi-fight, or he's just going to come back to try to unify the titles?
No, I think that's up to Tyson. Tyson's a very intelligent guy. He has a lot of opportunities outside of boxing. So you take it with a guy like Tyson, you take it one step at a time. And so I'm optimistic, without discussing it with him, that sometime down the road, he'll fight the winner of Joshua Usyk, which I hope is Usyk, and he'll fight Ngannou, and maybe call it a day. But I know he loves training, and he loves being in the ring. So that's a plus.
Bob, I know it's extremely difficult to say, but do you have any idea when we can possibly see Lomachenko back in the ring, or is it just too difficult?
Well, that depends. You know, Lomachenko was supposed to fight Kambosos, but he wouldn't leave Ukraine because he's fighting in the defense force. So I'd have to talk to Igas, who would talk to Vasily, to see now if a fight opened up with Devin Haney, whether we could expect Lomachenko to come out and do that fight. So again, that's something that I can't predict.
Well, talking about opening up, okay, with Devin Haney. So contractually, we understand he has a second fight in Australia. But opening up, what do you mean? Can you elaborate on that? Like, is it possible Devin doesn't fight that second fight?
Yeah, there's a contract for him to fight Kambosos again in a rematch. But again, when sensible people have a contract and there's another way to go, you might be able to do that. In other words, nobody is talking about breaching a contract, but it may be worthwhile for Kambosos to take another fight as a tune-up fight and then fight the winner of Haney, who Haney would be fighting. I mean, all that is possible. But is there a contract for a rematch? Absolutely. And knowing the Haneys and what honorable people they are, they're not going to breach that contract.
Bob, I have to ask you, in your opinion, is Inoue the best fighter in the world at the moment?
Absolutely. I mean, Inoue is something that takes your breath away.
So you don't even have to think about it.
I don't have to think about it. I've never seen a little guy like that who is such an extraordinarily good boxer, punch like he's Tyson Fury.
So what do you think his cap is in terms of weight? He's at 118 right now. What do you think is his cap probably?
I don't really know. It's just a privilege for us to co-promote him with my friend Honda-san, and you know, how much longer he'll stay at 118, I'm not sure, but for me, I just love the kid, and I love watching him.
So I have to ask you, you know, Stephen Fulton's been calling him out for a really long time now. He is unified at 122. He's trying to become undisputed at 122. And then he said after he gets those belts, he wants to face Inoue. Is that the guy that you believe will give Inoue his toughest test?
I don't know. I mean, you know, and I'm not aware that he has seriously talked about fighting Inoue at 118. I'm not sure.
At 122, actually.
Well, I don't know if Inoue is ready to go up to 122. There's some other kid who has the other belt at 118, Butler.
Yeah.
That might be the more logical guy to fight.
For unification.
Would that fight take place in the UK or in Japan?
What?
Paul Butler versus.
Hey, there is nobody bigger as a fighter, as an attraction, than Inoue. Maybe next to the kid who plays for the Angels.
Shohei Ohtani?
Yeah. Inoue is far and away the most popular athlete in Japan, and that counts for a lot.
Bob, I heard you speak about Teofimo Lopez. When is his return, and who will he be fighting?
Well, who he's been fighting, that will have an announcement, but we have definitely decided on a mid-August fight for Teofimo, probably in Las Vegas.
Bob, what are your thoughts on his future at 140, the division?
Well, that remains to be seen, doesn't it? Let's see how well he does at 140, and we'll make that assessment after his first fight.
Bob, I got a chance to talk to Tim Bradley, and he was telling me that Devin Haney and Shakur Stevenson, that's the mega fight down the line.
I agree. Anything, Shakur Stevenson is been a pleasure promoting him. He's a tremendous, tremendous talent, as is Devin Haney, and Shakur is a tough out for anybody. I mean, the last guy, remember, who beat Shakur was in the amateurs, the Cuban who's fighting the semi-windup on this card. So, I mean, that's an unbelievable, big pay-per-view fight.
So speaking of Robeisy Ramirez, do you want to move his career a little bit faster? I guess now, because he did pick up that first loss in the loss in his first fight, but he is a 2-time gold medalist. Do you want to move his career a little bit faster now?
Yeah, I mean, the first fight he was very disappointing, first professional fight, but the reason was that he was practically in hiding. The Cubans were searching for him all over the world, so obviously he was under an emotional stress. He didn't train. Now we're seeing the true Robeisy. He's in with a really tough guy in Nova, undefeated. Let's see what he does, and then ask me after that fight.
We just seen Jose Vargas comes in, and he had a second outing where the fight didn't go his way. What's the status? Will we see him return back and fight in your promotion, or?
Well, let's just see. After taking, and the referee just let that fight go too long, and we got to assess him physically, see if it makes any sense for him to continue. I don't want to prejudice it by talking about it. Let's see what happens.
Do you believe that the knockout loss to Zepeda kind of pushed his career a little bit downward?
Absolutely.
Bob, Alexander Zayas was supposed to co-headline recently on Edgar Berlanga's undercard. How's he doing? Can we expect him in the ring anytime
Well,
soon?
he had strep throat, and we're going to certainly bring him back as soon as we can, because he's one of the stars in our group of fighters. He has a big upside. I mean, he's a handsome kid, very well prepared, very articulate, is bilingual. He has everything going for him, so we're going to bring him back as soon as we can.
Well, before we go, could you tell our audience a little about what's going to happen at Madison Square Garden this weekend?
It's going to be bombs away. You're going to see, I think, I'm not going to predict who's going to win, but I'll predict that it'll be fight of the year.
What is your thought process on Shushu Carrington? He's been basically putting in some phenomenal performances, Shushu Carrington. What's your thought process on how y'all moving him? His performance. Is he coming off a devastating knockout? Win?
Bruce Carrington.
Oh, geez, I love that kid. Shushu, absolutely a future champion. And we're handling him like he's going to be a future champion. What a nice kid. He's very articulate. Lovely young man, and can fight like a son of a gun. So he's the real goods. We were very fortunate to have signed him to a promotional contract.
But when Alexander Zayas does return, will that fight take place in the Garden?
I don't, not necessarily, because we do fights all over the country, all over the world, and I want him back at the first available opportunity, and so it may not be in the Garden. Maybe someplace else, but people will be able to watch it on ESPN.
Thank you, Bob. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Regardless of the